the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the...
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was
coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
Behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you right now after the Iowa caucus. A little bit of Iowa caucus cleanup. And joining me online, I can now say a former lobbyist. I can't believe I said it, Amanda. Amanda Kohut, how you doing?
I am here, Gene. Let's reset that OSHA clock.
All right. Listen, my fault. I had to change the Skype settings to do a call earlier today and didn't have you set up. But now you're on. Everybody can hear you. Former lobbyist. What's up with that?
Gene, it was time for me to come home and be with my people.
Well, thank God you are setting things right here in the People's Republic of New York City.
Listen, Gene.
Great to have you on. Yep.
Gene, like we already know, when I came back, Cespedes re-signed to the Mets. Clearly, this is the right move.
So far, the early returns are, yes, this is the right move. I agree with you totally there. I was telling you, right, we got a great show coming up. We're going to be talking Iowa, kind of putting it behind us into the dustbin of history, and moving on to New Hampshire. But let's get into the cleanup. Let's get all the streamers off the floor and put all the foldable tables away and all that stuff.
Let's cut off Ted Cruz's mic.
Oh, stop. Come on, listen.
Ba-dum-ba.
Ted Cruz won. Winners get to talk. Do you remember Rick Santorum, 2012? He did the same thing. He talked his butt off.
Gene, but did
he's allowed. He's a winner.
Go in and cut him off? Because they did with Cruz.
Winners get sprinkles, Amanda. Winners get sprinkles.
Okay, Flo.
So listen, let's start with the winner, the man at the top. Ted Cruz took Iowa, barely nudging out Donald Trump and a very game Marco Rubio, who we'll get to both of them later. But Ted Cruz shows that good ground game and conservative message in a wingnut state pays off, right?
A conservative message in a wingnut state? Is that what you said? Yes, I would agree with that.
That's exactly what I said. And let's face it, a lot of voters that turned out to caucus identify as evangelical. If there was ever a people that are Ted Cruz's people, it would be the evangelical vote.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And I think that what's interesting is that he was able to successfully siphon off that evangelical vote from a lot of other likely suspects. And without getting too deep into the weeds on other candidates, I'm thinking about Ben Carson, especially Mike Huckabee, who's supposed to be the guy in their lane, in the evangelical lane. So the fact that they felt comfortable crossing over to someone like Cruz really was telling.
And, of course, you got to throw Rick Santorum in there as well. I mean, he was the person that, claimed that he went to every county in 2012, and that's how he won, with a boots-on-the-ground evangelical/conservative message. Didn't work out so well for him this year. But, yeah, it feels like that the magnetic attraction was all pulling Ted Cruz's way. And I gotta think he also pulled away some voters from Rand Paul as well. I mean, we're talking about people he took from. Definitely Carson, definitely Huckabee, definitely Santorum. But I gotta say, Rand Paul, he didn't perform well. I think Cruz stole some of that thunder as well.
No, I would agree. And I think that, especially in the heartland, you have people that are probably more hawkish in their defense policy. And I think that sort of philosophy that Rand Paul perpetuates is a bit off-putting to them.
I am in total agreement with you on that. But you got to hand it to Cruz, though. He mobilized an army of volunteers. He's not just a Rick Santorum or a Mike Huckabee from past cycles where they threw together an operation, hope for the best, and they hope it will propel them forward. Cruz started out thinking about operation, and he ran a successful one.
Absolutely right. And there was actually a wonderful article the other day about the ground games, particularly volunteer operations of the various campaigns. And Cruz was rated the top, most organized, most disciplined GOTV operation. And it really speaks to the importance of that aspect of campaign craft in order to get the win. And it's in stark contrast to someone like Donald Trump, who really did not invest in GOTV or ground game.
No, it's actually the antithesis. It's, I love getting wonky, first and foremost. Wonky election stuff is fantastic to me. When I heard Karl Rove last night on Fox News talking about a 72-hour get-out-the-vote effort, it made me cringe because that's so 2008. And, looking forward now, we saw the new analytics that were being used by the Iowa GOP with Microsoft, and we saw, every campaign basically had an app, and they had, so much technology at their fingertips. It really is a brand new type of campaigning that we're seeing, and you know what? You got to give it, and I hate saying this, you got to give it to the Obama campaign because they kind of trailblazed this sort of peer-to-peer and use of technology.
Yeah, the Obama campaign used a platform called Minivan, and the analytics in Minivan were such that it was targeted down to the specific voter in real time, Gene. You could send a volunteer door-to-door on the Obama campaign holding an iPad, and it would generate a new set of questions and data points that they would want to get from each voter in each household on the block based on the information that they knew about that particular voter. That's how in-depth the Obama campaign was able to get with their analytics and their targeting. And to their credit, the RNC, after the 2012 loss, actually went in and invested in that sort of technology and infrastructure to do those really complex analytics. And I know that they plan on rolling that out this year to the eventual GOP nominee.
I've seen certain types of campaign tech like this in action, like voter gravity that Ned Ryan has introduced. We saw that when we went to Cleveland. And it really is scary, the way that you can use a handheld device, capture information, get more analytics from a voter in a 30-second conversation than you could at 10 minutes at a door getting a signature. And then finding a peer to then follow up on that analytics and the peer-to-peer contact, which is the second step to what you were talking about, Amanda. Finding someone who's in that same niche that you've identified really makes a voter contact a real contact. The days of the loan sign are over. It's done with.
And you know what? It's actually that sort of complexity is actually in stark contrast to what I think is Cruz's one unforced error in the final lead up to the Iowa caucus, which was the voter report card. And while it's a common technique, and I personally did not criticize Ted Cruz for using the voter report card, it's all based on sharing data, sharing knowledge. And it blew over horribly. People felt that it was invasion, even though it's a public record. But it's all based on the same concept of knowing things about the voter in order to encourage them to turn out.
Well, I'll just say that Marco Rubio used the same technique. He didn't get nearly the negative coverage that Ted Cruz had on that. Enough of Cruz. We can analyze the numbers till the cows come home. I think it's the biggest voter turnout in Iowa Republican caucus history. I think Cruz got the largest number of votes in Iowa caucus history. And when you talk about the expansion of the voter base, you got to talk Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Trump may have finished second, and he may not have had the ground operation that a seasoned candidate like a Ted Cruz had. But what he had at his disposal was the force of his personality, and he used it to the utmost, spending very little per voter, maximizing his brand, maximizing his presence, and really, just based on that, had a really good turnout in Iowa, and it's going to be a momentum builder as we look to New Hampshire. But let's talk about Iowa first. Things that Trump did right. You got to start with name recognition.
Name recognition. He spent relatively little per vote. I would say around $100 per vote. Really, it's all based on name recognition and reputation, and that is something that money can't buy, but doesn't cost much if you have it.
He leveraged his name better than any candidate out there. And he really is the only candidate out there that had a name that he was able to leverage. Now, when you talk about the problems with Donald Trump underperformed. I think his RCP average was higher than what his voter percentage was in the caucus. Am I right in saying that, Amanda?
Yes, you're correct. The final RCP average for Donald Trump was 28.6%. His final result last night was 24.3%. So, yes, he came second, but I think the other thing that really needs to be discussed is that it was not a blowout. And leading up into the Iowa caucus, I think a lot of people had speculated that perhaps he had inflated numbers, that people were just supporting him on these opinion polls because they knew him, he was popular, they were just going with the crowd. But they expected then when the final votes were cast that Donald Trump would be really more towards the middle of the pack. And that really was not the case here. So that tells me then that he does have a built-in solid base of support that was not going to be persuaded otherwise. I think that the two things that might have impacted his numbers last night was, number one, I definitely think him missing the debate was a big point loss for him. And the other thing is that, unlike Cruz, he did not have a sophisticated analytics, voter targeting, and GeoTV operation. And if you're running for the largest, highest office in the land, that's something that you absolutely have to have.
I absolutely agree with you on those points, but let me just make one caveat. Yes, the bottom didn't drop out of Trump. We all saw he had 40,000 plus votes, very good turnout. But what he did was he brought in a lot of first-time caucusers, and if you look at the people that were supporting Trump, he proved that he was right. His supporters really did care about immigration the most, and that's what brought them to the caucus. So he had the pulse of his people, of that angry American that we were talking about last week, and he used his name to bring those people out. Now, let's imagine if Donald Trump actually was handled. If Donald Trump was an actual candidate that had a management team that he let manage, imagine what that number would have been if you could have personality plus wedge issue plus organization. That could have been a really scary campaign, Amanda.
Oh, I think that he would have walked out of Iowa the clear-cut winner, and I don't think he could have been stopped if he had all of those pieces in place.
Well, maybe he can get it together as they head to New Hampshire. He's got a big lead there as well. But before we round out this segment, and we'll get to the also-rans later on, that's going to be fun. We're going to be talking stay or go later here behind enemy lines. Your pick for the big winner of the night, even though he ended up in bronze medal position, Marco Rubio. Tell us why you think Marco Rubio can walk out of Iowa as just as big of a winner, if not bigger, than Ted Cruz.
It all has to do with the performance. Rubio was the largest overperformer of the night. The final RCP average for Marco Rubio was 16.9. He ended in Iowa with 23.1.
It's an amazing jump, and it was because of last-second deciding voters, right, Amanda?
Yes. The undecided voters were largely breaking towards Rubio. Those were what the returns were telling us last night.
And that has a lot to do with that last debate performance that Trump missed and that Cruz did not perform as well in.
Yes. The conventional wisdom from that debate was that now with Trump out of the picture, that debate was going to give other candidates a chance to shine without the Trump bustle and brashness. And Rubio did, in fact, walk out of that debate as one of the shining stars.
So now, looking forward, he's going to have momentum going into South Carolina with I believe it's the impending endorsement of Tim Scott. He already has Trey Gowdy on his side. So Rubio didn't spend a lot of money compared to some people we'll be talking about later on. He sets himself up in great shape for future growth.
Oh, yeah. Rubio spent around $300 a vote in Iowa. He was the third largest spender. He was surpassed by Huckabee and Jeb Bush. But even though he was the third largest spender, he came out with the best results. Far outperformed the guys who outspent him.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be talking about those guys in a little bit. But as we round out this segment, before we head to our first break of the night, it looks like those lanes that we started talking about last year, Amanda, are starting to become more defined. We have the social conservative lane. Ted Cruz is taking over that lane. Tea Party lane, you can also say that as well. His talk about courageous conservatives. Although you can't say that Donald Trump has ceded that lane. And the establishment lane firmly in the control of Marco Rubio. Am I on target here?
On target.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to take our first break of the night. When we come back, we'll talk about the also-rans. We're going to play a little stay or go with the GOP. And we'll talk about that other caucus that we think they're still counting on right now on the Dem side. And a whole lot more show to come, folks. Gene and Amanda behind enemy lines. We'll be back right after this brief word.
I'm Vito.
And I'm Vito. And we're from WNJC's The Vito and Vito Show.
Every Friday at 1 p.m., you can hear Vito and Vito bring you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservatives who are committed to defending the principles of free markets, liberty, freedom, and individualism from Brooklyn, New York.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show. And check out our blog posts and articles at VitoandVito.com.
Vito and Vito Show every Friday, 1 p.m. on WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station. In Brooklyn,
it's nothing but the truth.
There's a movement in healthcare today. It's a movement of people that's ready to stand up and take charge of their healthcare. It's people like you and me who who are tired of paying too much for healthcare and getting too little. People who are standing up for their values and letting their conscience make decisions based on timeless principles. It's a movement that's sweeping the nation, and you need to be a part of it. Liberty HealthShare is leading the movement of people who are looking for an alternative to traditional health insurance. Liberty HealthShare is a healthcare sharing organization of people who are sharing the cost of healthcare in an easy and efficient way. Choose your own doctor, your own hospital, and live out your values in healthcare. Join the movement. Together, we're changing healthcare for good. Go to www.joinlhs.com or call 800-722-8041.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air.
Gene and Amanda, back behind enemy lines. Time to go through a little bit of GOP, should I stay or should I go? We're basing this on the performance of candidates at the Iowa caucus and our own projections here behind enemy lines as to how some of these candidates will be doing or how they should be doing as New Hampshire rolls closer and closer and we start seeing the field whittle down a little bit. Amanda? Obviously, the first person we got to talk about, Mike Huckabee. Happy trails to you. I hope we meet again, but not necessarily in the presidential primary, right?
Cheers. Let's meet up in a bar and have a beer.
Absolutely. Pour a little out for my homie, Mike Huckabee. The campaign is gone. And the reason why it's gone, and we talked about this before the show, is that Ted Cruz scooped his heat. Bottom line.
Oh, yeah. If there was any one place that he should have been competitive, it would have been Iowa. He failed in Iowa. He was even beaten by establishment candidates who really were not expected to perform well in Iowa. So really, this is the time where you just cut your losses and call it a day.
Did Huckabee miss his window by not running in 2012?
That's an interesting question. But I have to say no. I don't think that his brand of conservatism was really going to be a win against someone like Obama.
Well, and that may be something we can look to in a candidate right now, Rick Santorum, to see if we can answer that question. Rick Santorum, let's start with the should I stay or should I go with him. He won this state in the last presidential election cycle. And in this one, I don't even know if he showed up.
He came dead last.
Should he stay or should he go?
He came in dead last. He should go, but he won't go. He's going to stick around for a long time, and we're going to have to deal with it.
But if a candidate makes a speech and nobody's there to hear it, does he really make a sound? I'm not so sure. But, okay, so Santorum, we're checking into the get-out-of-town pile.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no even need to analyze the precipitous drop that we saw from from first to worst. I mean, do we even bother analyzing it?
No. In fact, a reporter said this really wonderfully the other day. He said, listen to what Rick Santorum says, because all of his stories are no later than 2006.
Absolutely. I remember when
that day he is done.
In Cleveland, in the first debate, he was talking about how he was the candidate for change based upon things that he was doing in the Senate in 1996. Absolutely right. Great call. Santorum, thank you very much. Happy trails to you. Chris Christie. We disagree on this one.
Well,
Chris Christie did not perform as well as he should, but you think he should stay.
Well, I will admit my bias that he is my fall in love guy. He is my huggy bear. And I would say objectively, Chris Christie did not leave it all on the field in Iowa because he knew he was not competitive in Iowa to begin with. I would want him to stay around for New Hampshire, where he actually did put in a ground game. This is where he is somewhat competitive in the polls. While he has seen a downtick recently, Christie has gone up as far as second place in some New Hampshire polling. And he really did invest in the infrastructure for an operation in New Hampshire. So if you're going to go out, do it when you left it all on the field. And that was not Iowa.
Okay, well, apparently he's also President Obama's huggy bear. But that's a touchy subject, and I'm not going to go there with you. Let's see. Who else is in this motley crew? Let's talk Carly Fiorina for a second. Carly had one of the best first impressions of any first-time candidate ever at the Cleveland debate over the summer. And slowly but surely, she has declined to the point of the lowest of the low tier of the field. Should she stay or should she go?
Honestly, Carly's a hard one for me to call. And it's mostly because of all, when you think about women in politics, you kind of want to just see her run the race just for the sake of saying, yes, Republicans support women. Let's cut out this war on women narrative that the Democrats use on us. So on that alone, I would say she should have a place here for a bit longer. But at the same token, you know, if you're sucking up the oxygen and you're not contributing, what's the point? So I don't really know what to do with Carly right now.
Where is her path to victory? I think when we talk about any one of these candidates, we have to talk about where is their path to victory. I don't see a path to victory for Carly Fiorina right now. I don't see her making any headway in New Hampshire. I don't see her really going to make an impact in South Carolina. I don't see her making an impact in Florida. Where is the path to victory? Is she just hoping for a Super Tuesday bonanza between now and then? Because really, it's getting late early for that. If you don't have any sort of momentum, and in fact, if you're trending downward, I would think it's time to cut losses and see if you can throw your support behind somebody and see what you can get for your credibility.
Well, that could be why she's still in the game, Gene. She might be waiting to see what she could get out of it. Maybe she's looking for a cabinet post.
It could well be, and only time will tell. Okay, time for the curveball. Rand Paul. Should he stay or should he go? I have a very definite feeling about this, about what I want to happen and what I think will happen, but I want to see what you have to say about this.
Rand Paul is another hard one for me. I personally am inclined to say he needs to go, and I say that solely on the fact that I don't think that he fully fits in with the GOP of today, particularly in the terms of foreign affairs. I think that with everything that has happened in France and in California, his non-interventionist position is really out of step with the feeling of the party. So I don't really see a path to victory for Rand Paul.
I think Rand Paul should go. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. And I think I say that because of the Paul legacy. I think there is going to be more to do about Rand Paul contributing to the debate and trying to get his ideas on center stage as much as possible to influence policy later on. I think Rand Paul is playing a long game. I think while, commenters in our chat room say he should be going back to the Senate, and by the way, folks, while we're on live here on Spreaker, we do have a chat room going. So join us at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. Click on the Listen Live button, and you'll automatically be put into the chat if you want. Log into it and contribute if you like. Got a couple of people in there right now. Rand Paul stays around. And he stays around because I think he's going to try to break down the party platform for runs coming in years to come. All these Paul bots, as people like to call them in a derogatory term, I've used it myself, they're getting up in age. They're going to keep going up in age. And if they're an active voter base now, and if people start looking at Rand as being viable for years to come, he's going to play a long game and try to influence the debate and the topics being discussed as much as possible. Rand Paul is going to stay, but he should go.
I would agree with that, Gene, and I would say that the only oxygen that's keeping Rand Paul alive right now is the fact that he can get butts in the seat unlike any other candidate in the race, and it's something that he got from his father. I mean, you know from going to CPAC every year how they are able to get up in there and really get the tally up on the straw poll. He always comes in first in the CPAC straw poll. They can really just flood it and invent. You know, they have those support bodies, and I think that's the only thing that's keeping him alive right now.
If CPAC straw polls determine the presidency of the United States, the Paul family would be president for life, 2 generations worth. Folks, we're here at halftime on the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Behind Enemy Lines. I'm Gene. She's Amanda, filling in for Russ Gallo, who is working again tonight. And while I got you listening here live on Spreaker, check out www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. Check us out on the Facebooks and on the Twitters at BEL_radio. And if you missed any part of this live show here on Spreaker, you can check us out on any one of our radio outlets for rebroadcast, which includes WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station, Red State Talk Radio, High Plains Talk Radio, and SHR Media, and K98 Talk, and a special shout-out to Rebooting Liberty Radio Network. They're going to be folding up tent soon, and we appreciate our time on Rebooting Liberty, and wish them all the best of luck as they move on to future endeavors. And by the way, if you missed any of those rebroadcasts, you can check us out here on demand on Spreaker, on iTunes, on Player FM, on Podbay, on TuneIn, I'm getting tired, on Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Amanda, let's get back to work.
Do you have a list in front of you? That's a lot of station names.
That's a lot of options for our listeners. We like to give them as many options as they like. Whatever platform they have, we're happy to accommodate.
You have no excuse. You can always find us.
We're everywhere at any time, kind of like the federal government.
Oh.
Hi-yo. Okay, back to the should you stay or should you go questions. Speaking of doctors, we just talked about Dr. Rand Paul. Let's talk about Dr. Ben Carson.
Ben Carson.
Not a bad outcome. What?
I don't understand him. Where is the support coming from?
Well, listen, he got some great support in Iowa, comparatively. He was above the 5% mark, one of the few and the proud. He hovered at double digits for a while during the night. I don't know where the support's coming from either. All I know is, if it's a race between Ambien and Dr. Ben Carson wins.
Barely.
Well, listen.
Barely wins.
Dr. Carson makes you really listen to him when he speaks in this soft-spoken, low-tone voice that makes you kind of lean forward, as you are doing right now, listeners, as you're leaning forward to listen to me speak. That's what you do with Dr. Ben Carson. It is a great rhetorical way of speaking, and it is the anti-Trump. But it's also freaking annoying. And I'm sorry, Dr. Carson, news hitting CNN that you were skipping New Hampshire. I don't get what the point is anymore. You need to go. Amanda, are you with me or no?
Yeah, I also heard that he left the trail to go home and get a change of clothes.
Well, that's just bad campaign organizing. Should be a new set of clothes anywhere at any time, organized by his campaign team in the car, ready and waiting for him. I don't care if it's a tracksuit, you break it out.
Hey, that's a Rev Al move there. Let's not put Dr. Carson in the same camp as Reverend Al.
And since his name was invoked, yes, Reverend Al will be joining us a little later. But back to Dr. Carson. His support came from this whole outsider angry American outrage. But because he is well-spoken, and because he is articulate, and I think because of his mannerisms, it appeals to a lot of Americans who are the anti-Trump vote, but are also the anti-establishment vote. That's where he gets the support from. I don't think you can label it as evangelical, social conservative, Tea Party, libertarian. I think it cuts across all strata.
I agree, Gene, and this is hardly anecdotal of me, but have you really met anyone who says, oh yes, I'm with Dr. Carson, 100%, he's my guy, gung-ho, gung-ho. I have been looking high and low for those grassroots-based Carson supporters. I don't know where they are, so I don't understand these numbers.
It's an interesting anomaly. The only Ben Carson people I've ever known are the people that man his table at events when we go to different events and things like that. And they're always different. They tend to skew older. They tend to skew more social conservative. They love when he talks about God and country. And that's really all I can say about them. Is, they skew older, and they seem to be a little more sophisticated in their personal taste, I guess. They're not loud and obnoxious, if you want to call it that way. It's not an identifiable demographic, let's put it that way.
Perhaps it's that people just like the idea of Dr. Carson and what he stands for, and not so much as the campaign has this great operation that is responsible for drumming up these numbers.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a lot to do with it, too. I mean, when Brett Baier asked him that scenario, that sounded like they were playing a game of Risk during the Iowa debate. I thought for sure Ben Carson was going to say, well, first I need to find a map and figure out where Estonia is. And then I'll, something like that. That's just the kind of, you just don't picture Ben Carson as being the man with the nuclear football. I just don't see it.
Agree.
All right, but should he be out? That's the question. I say yes.
I say yes because I just don't see him bringing anything to the table aside from a great personal narrative. But it's a great personal narrative that I don't necessarily see as qualification to be commander-in-chief.
I agree. All right, I think we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. What we have, like 2 left, I think? And they're right up your alley, Amanda. Let's start with Jeb, #! Jeb Bush. I have to say it that way because the Jeb does have an exclamation point. Jeb Bush. Well, he did not have a good night at all.
Not at all.
I mean, he had a worse night than even anticipated, right?
I absolutely agree. And as you said earlier, Jeb spent $2,800 per vote, by far the most in the GOP field. In fact, I'm just kind of looking at a chart right now. Jeb, I think, spent more per vote than all the other candidates did per vote combined.
That is some wheeling, dealing, heavy spending. And if we're talking about fiscal conservatism, that's really not a good model. Jeb had some positives. Listen, forget about the outcome for a second. Jeb had his best performance on a debate stage in Iowa. Jeb is performing well in New Hampshire. Jeb actually got a delegate out of Iowa. He got one. He's got to stay. He has the money. He has the operation. He has the potential to run a 50-state campaign. Iowa should not faze Jeb Bush in the slightest. Now, looking forward to New Hampshire, if there's another hiccup there, you got to start wondering. Jeb's main concerns to me are the money drying up and the support waning in states where he should perform well. Florida, excuse me. That to me is, so Jeb should be a little troubled, but I think he stays in. What say you, Amanda?
He has to stay in. He is the most well-funded candidate of the 2016 cycle, including the Democrats. So on that alone, why would you drop out when you already have all of the finances in place? But
if there was ever a candidate who was all in, it's Jeb Bush.
Yes. But that being said, he needs to start getting that momentum going, and I don't necessarily see it. But he has ticked up a bit in the polls in New Hampshire. So maybe this could be a bit of a renaissance for him. But let's wait until at least the first 4 primary states are out of the way before we make a final determination on him.
All right. Comment in the chat room says that Jeb will finish 6th in New Hampshire. That's his prediction. Middle of the field.
That's bold.
Is that right or wrong?
That's a bold prediction there, Matt Fairley.
Calling him out by name on the tape. By the way, for statements like that, starting this week, Behind Enemy Lines is going to be partnering with a brand new social media concept called Go On Record. So Matt Fairley and anybody else who's in the chat room and anybody else listening, go to www.goonrecord.com. Register for the site. The way it works is it gives you a very simple interface. You write down a prediction, a position, a stand, an opinion on any number of topics, politics included. You go on there, you type it in, you preview what it says, you click publish, and it's there for good. No editing, no nothing. Take a stand. You really think Jeb's going to finish 6th? Go on record to goonrecord.com and tell the world what you think and what you believe in and what you stand for. I'm going to start doing it next week on the show and having it up here on my many windows on the computer here. And I know Russ Gallo is going to start doing it as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun to do.
How else are you going to settle all of those debates that always happen every week between you and Russ over, I said it a year ago?
How many times has he done that to me and said, yeah, exactly. So this is how we're going to settle it from now on. GoOnRecord.com. It's brand new. It just opened up like a week ago. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. Tell them you heard about it here Behind Enemy Lines. I think all we have left is John Kasich. I think I left him for last for a reason. I'm warming up to him a little bit. John Kasich is the best vice presidential candidate in the field today.
That's also
the man should stay around just to remind people that he's from Ohio. He should stay around so we can make another Fruit Ninja video of his hand motions. The man is entertaining. By the way, did you know that he's from Ohio?
I did not know that. Did you know his dad was a mailman?
This is the first I'm hearing that.
Wow.
Whoa, mind blown. Really? Wow. That's amazing. Listen, he's not short on personal narrative, but listen, I think he adds something to the field. First of all, swing state. I like the fact that that Ohio is engaged in Republican politics in the presidential primary, not only because they think they're a swing state, and they probably are, but because their governor is involved actively in the race. The longer he stays in, the better the chances are for the GOP in Ohio. Secondly, again, I think he can bring some balance to an outsider / Tea Party / ultra-conservative top of the ticket. And by hanging around, I think people will warm to him and will take a shine to him, like I have.
No, I agree. And let me just throw out a couple of little fact points here. He's currently polling 2nd in New Hampshire, so that means that he will come with a little bit of a base behind him. And he is a governor in a swing state who has balanced a budget. Great executive experience, but I don't necessarily think he has the momentum to go all the way, but I think you're absolutely right that he will make a great VP, a ticket runner with someone else.
And all the debate practice he's getting right now for a VP debate, that'll be fantastic. And he's certainly getting a lot of it, at least once a month. His stand on Medicare and how it was handled in the state, a little weak, but I think I can live with him in the VP slot.
Yeah. And it might be the more establishment-minded among us.
It's a unity ticket. It's a fusion of the ticket, I think, by having a John Kasich there. I think we hit them all. Did I miss anybody? I'm going through my list here in my head. Carson. Yeah, I think we got them all.
Yeah.
But there are 2 candidates we haven't talked about yet.
Or do you mean 3?
No, I think there's only 2 left
only
now, right?
Only 2? Yeah. I mean,
there's only 2.
Maybe that 3rd one isn't even worth thinking about.
Well, listen, Martin O'Malley. I don't even pay attention to them. Fairley says we missed Jim Gilmore. Yeah, bye. See you later. Taking care of Jim Gilmore.
Bye, Felicia.
What did he get, like 12 votes? 15 votes? I don't even know.
I think you can count them on two hands.
And they were all cousins. Anyway, let's talk about... I think they're still counting in Iowa on the Democratic side. Bernie and Hillary. It looks like Hillary is going to survive. It looks like Hillary is going to be leaving Iowa with the majority of delegates. Not by a lot, but a win is a win. And as they said in Fast and Furious, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. To Hillary Clinton, winning is winning.
The last time I checked, Hillary only has 3 more delegates than Bernie Sanders. And to just give our listeners a sense of just how close the count is right now, Hillary Clinton currently has 49.8% of delegates in Iowa. Sanders has 49.6%. They are only separated by 0.2 of a point.
That's Iowa, folks. That's all I can say about that. Iowa, on the Dem side, very, very liberal. 43% of the voters who showed up to caucus self-identify as socialist. Self-identify as socialist. The fact that Hillary is going to get half of the delegates out of Iowa, probably a miracle and a half to her. But think about this, folks. This time last year, Hillary was polling over 60. Bernie Sanders hadn't hit double digits. My, oh my, how times they are a-changing.
Gene, just everything is going wrong for her. It really is. Bernie Sanders is to Hillary Clinton what Ben Carson is to Donald Trump in a way. He's the anti-Hillary, and for a variety of reasons, people are shying away from her. Maybe it's because she is part of the Democrat establishment, though I prefer to think it's more due to the fact that we cannot trust her because of her email situation, but she keeps on giving voters a reason not to support her.
If you look at the entrance polling, the trust factor weighed heavily on voters in Iowa. But also, here's the thing that I see. Besides the trust factor, Bernie Sanders has energized a younger base, a la Ron Paul, a la Rand Paul. Bernie Sanders, if and when he gets the nomination, he will have a very active, energetic base. If and when Hillary Clinton wins the nomination, does that energetic base that Bernie Sanders has created fall by the wayside, a la Ron and Rand Paul for the Democrat side?
I'm going to say yes, it does fall by the wayside. I really think that a lot of the votes that are going towards Sanders are not as much for Sanders as they are against Hillary.
I think the younger people are with Bernie. They like him a lot. I'm not one of those young people anymore. So sad. But yeah, I think that younger voters, kind of like the same way that Ron Paul was striking a chord with young people, same thing with Bernie Sanders. Obviously, we think Sanders is going to win big in New Hampshire, right? But then from there, what happens, Amanda?
Who's to say? Because I think so much of what's going to go on with Sanders is tied into Hillary's own narrative.
I agree with you to an extent. Listen, we saw the states are becoming fast and furious now. I mean, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Florida, the Super Tuesday, they're all going to be, I think Nevada's in the mix there somewhere too as a standalone. I'm not even sure anymore. I'm just so dizzy from this silly season. But Bernie is going to be one of those candidates that's going to hope to build on momentum from Iowa and from New Hampshire to see what happens in the next states. But he's got, as my phone is dinging off the hook here, he has tapped into something that Hillary doesn't have, and who knows where things go from here. I think it all collapses like a flan in the cupboard for Bernie later on. And I think we see no support being crossing over to Hillary Clinton.
I agree. I think that the Democrats are in a much weaker position than we give them credit for.
And this is all with the caveat of whether Hillary's going to the jail or not.
Yes.
And, by the way, that's becoming more and more of a real possibility. Time for our last break of the show, folks. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little Buffoon of the Week. Maybe we can get some New Hampshire predictions out of Amanda Kohut. And we'll be wrapping things up here on a great show, cleaning up after the Iowa caucus. Gene and Amanda, Behind Enemy Lines. We'll be back after Amanda's favorite part of the show, Reverend Al Sharpton.
The show will be right back. But first, a word from Al Sharpton.
Good evening, Rev. Thanks
Good evening,
to
Rev.
you, Ed. Is this Groundhog Day 2? We are watching that was Attorney General Eric Holder, ABDs, about some Republicans at home are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentagon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwindling, they do not want him dwindling his thumbs. You can get a gig as a contortionist. Intravenous fluids and pills coated with gelatin. We don't leave our women or men in uniform behind. It's a monument to the hubris of Dick Cheney, Representative Raul Labrador. Years of abuse. I personally apologize to Mr. Peebles. Just ask to soon-to-be former Congressman. Democrats are outright jitty. CIA's counterterrorism center. Veteran Affairs Secretary Shinseki. Why do I always mess up his name? Shinseki. I love my critics. I have fun with that.
Politics Nation with the Reverend Al Sharpton starts right now. Good evening, Rev.
Good evening, Dr. Dyson.
But wait, there's more.
And we will much about that be committed. So there's no real conflict. Michael Druniak, including Lincoln himself, Daniel Day-Lewis. Behind Monica Lewinsky, the one and only Trey Songz is here. But Allison Lundergan Grimes, Gina De Jesus. When Gina De Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. The Republican savior, Mark Rubio's big night. In evolution and Galileo, this whole thing of Galileo, America's changed. Unless IT and Skillets, President Putin doing something similar back in, it won't change this fundamental fact about the GOP. Just how absurd these attacks is. Nearly 6 months after the dangerous traffic jam, the Thai military says, my friend for many years, Ilyana Van Zandt. There's nothing there.
And they gave this guy a TV show? Let's get back to our show.
Gene and Amanda, back behind enemy lines for our final segment here. Couple minutes before the show is over. Programming note. You may have noticed that we didn't do Behind Enemy headlines this week with Media Research Center and Newsbusters. We'll be having Dan Gaynor on the show next week. We'll talk about the news coverage coming out of Iowa. It's going to be an interesting discussion to see how the networks lined up with Ted Cruz winning. And then, in a couple of weeks, Behind Enemy Lines is heading back to CPAC, folks. We're going to have a blast there. We're going to be doing a live show for our WNJC listeners at 2 p.m. on Friday, March 4th. That's going to be great. We're going to get some guests lined up for that. And watch for some great content and some great guest announcements, as we always do, coming up on CPAC. Amanda, can't wait to head back home to CPAC.
Oh, it's so good to be home with this. We are going to do a bigger and better show than we did the year before.
Oh, absolutely right. We're going to do a bigger and better show. Maybe even a couple of surprises coming out of CPAC. I'm just going to put it out there. You might want to bring your bathing suit. That's all I'm going to say.
Ooh, that sounds like it might be a little bit unsustainable, Gene.
Possibly. Let's just leave it at that for now. There are things in the works, and it's going to be some exciting stuff. So listen, here we are at the end of the show. New Hampshire's around the corner. Iowa's in the dust bowl, whatever. Give me your predictions for New Hampshire, Amanda, real quick. I want top 3.
Top 3 for New Hampshire. I am going to say Donald Trump is coming in first in New Hampshire.
Wow, and that had to hurt you saying that.
Yes, it did. The problem in New Hampshire is that the establishment guys are performing well in New Hampshire, but they're splitting the vote. So they're eating up a larger percentage and then splitting it before them. It's clearing the field for Trump. So RCP has been consistently putting Trump in first place. No one's even coming close to touching him. So I feel comfortable saying he's taking New Hampshire.
Number 2?
John Kasich.
Wow. Really?
Yes.
Okay.
He's somehow gotten the momentum going into New Hampshire. His numbers have been going up, so I think that we're going to see him come in second.
And third?
Third, I can't actually call for one person. I actually think you're going to see a three-way race for third between Cruz, Bush, and Rubio.
Interesting. Throwing Jeb exclamation point into the mix.
Yes, Jeb exclamation point is in the mix. His numbers in New Hampshire have been going up, and this is the sort of state where he would be much more competitive. I think we're going to see his money and his infrastructure put to better use in New Hampshire. So I think that he will be set to surprise us.
All right. And by the way, folks, if you want to check out more news and views from Amanda Kohut, go to the Twitters at Amanda Kohut. Awesome stuff as always. Time for the Buffoon of the Week. We got to do it really quickly. This is the first time we're doing it this year. And for those of you who don't know what Buffoon of the Week is, this is the part of the show where we take someone or something from the news and we hold it out to abject ridicule in order to bring a little balance to the world. Amanda, who you got?
Gee, I'm going to surprise you this week. Planned Parenthood.
Really?
Yes.
You never struck me as a Planned Parenthood basher.
You know, we all know that I take a markedly different position on Planned Parenthood from you and Russ, but Planned Parenthood has just launched a campaign to repeal the so-called tampon
you dropped
tax.
out there, Amanda. Go ahead.
Let me just talk to the ladies for a second about this.
Okay. The tampon tax, what is that?
Exactly. What is the tampon tax? Ladies, when you go to the pharmacy and you purchase some feminine hygiene items, have you ever looked at your receipt and seen a line item under the total for tampon tax? No. What Planned Parenthood is calling the tampon tax is what we call a sales tax, a tax that is placed on every consumer good in the United States. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to say if you have to lie about the basis of your argument, you have already lost.
There you go. That's a great pick. My pick, I'm going to stay close to home. You may have seen on Behind Enemy Lines Radio's Facebook timeline, we've been talking a lot about New York values lately, the past couple of weeks on the show as well. New York values this week popping up again in the City Council. Council Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, though she supports a 32% pay increase for herself, is not supporting a pension increase for New York's finest. Despite support from Albany and people wanting to put out a home rule message, not going to happen. But it's okay that we put out a one-third pay increase for part-time elected officials that already make six figures. Buffoon, you're done. That's it. And unfortunately, folks, that's it for the show. Amanda, really quick final thought. You got 30 seconds.
Election 2016 is just getting started, so don't count your chickens before they hatch.
All right, folks, we're going to shut this down. You ready to shut it down, Amanda?
Shut it down, Mr. Baradelli.
All right, folks, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week, but until then, we are out of here. Good night, folks.
Our position's been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance behind enemy lines. Part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, a rock radio production. Copyright 2015. Back in 7 days.